Yo, what's popping? It's Thomathan, and since Shock went 0-2 last weekend, there's been a narrative that they don't know how to play into enemy Sombras or around their own Sombra effectively, and to prove the validity of that, I have clips from two different maps against the Houston Outlaws. The first on Dorado, where both teams play in Sombra, and the second on New Queen Street, where only Houston play it and Shock play in Ash instead. But before I get into this, like this video and subscribe if you like this kind of content because I upload daily. And I'll take us into our first clip. So we have Shock on defense on Dorado. And you'll notice right away that they're playing more reactively. Sam is in the backline scouting out for Pelican. And that's not a bad play in itself, because as you can see, it actually works out. They ended up pressuring him down, so he has to translocate here, because if he gets hacked, he dies. Unfortunately, Sam does decloak, so that's 6 seconds before they can really move in, unless they want to play a little bit aggressively and not guarantee a hack. But regardless, even if they did that, they would have a 5v4 advantage. And then Dante gets slept, so then you have even more in a second. He's going to get slept. Yep, right there. And now you can go in basically 4v5 or 4v4 or 5v4, 5v3 for a second, and you can just go right on the Lastro. So like right here, Proper is like on Big Earls after he expends a blink. Maybe they wait for that, but regardless, you can go right on to Lastro right now. You make the call, Kaluj can follow up, Proper can follow up. He's even looking. He has an orb. You can go right on the Lastro and initiate this dive right here. However, Pelican does it first. And you'll notice Merit is right there to follow up. Violet dies. He's out of LOS from everyone. It just now Lastro gets hacked. So that whole dive went off and they got the kill. Like, there was no reason for Shock to wait that long to initiate that dive. And then Kaluj peels to nobody because Finn's not even over there. So Kaluj is DMing them and they're not shooting anyone important. So instead of, trying to even out the fight, if you get a kill on Lastro, maybe it's still winnable. But instead, Kaluj is over here for no reason because there's nothing to peel for. And they just lose because you can't counter dive anything and it's just lost. So it wasn't a bad play in itself to get Pelican out of the fight for those precious seconds. Like, that was an opportunity they could have taken, but they don't take the opportunity and they end up losing right away. And then we go over to this next clip where we have Sam in a really strong position after they lose A. He's going to go over to this spot up here. Right, double arrows pointing at him. And this place is so good because you can see if the enemy tracer goes up on these stairs and tries some flakes around, and you also have an easy dive onto the backline. But this is one of the moments where the passivity of Shock actually worked out. Because right here you would think, oh, you can just get a dive onto the backline and go in. But like it's not going to be too effective because they can retreat pretty easily back here. So what they do is they wait out. Neither of them have an EMP, so there's no real pressure. And they just slowly wait out. Sam ends up leaving, right? Chasing down Pelican, of course. And now they're both just waiting. It's a waiting game. And at this point, you could go in with an EMP because they're walked out a bit more. You have some follow-up available. But instead, they just keep playing patient because Merit's not really in a position to follow up, even if they do go in. So even though Pelican right here, he goes for the dive, and as soon as this dive happens, Shock know it's time to go in because they're like, we can go. It double helps that they're just in. It's over. Sam does EMP here, and I don't know if that EMP was really necessary because you had like Houston up there. So how are they not going to die? You have 3 people running at them, as we'll see in this clip in a second when they do the replay. But it still worked out in their favor because as soon as Dante leaves, they have a free dive. It's just free because look, there you go. As soon as Dante leaves, they're like, okay, it's time to go out. Boom. EMP, both those guys are dead. Now, I think they're dead even if you don't EMP, probably. So you could save it. But regardless, they win the next fight in the end. So I'd say that overall, it looks pretty good to me. But there definitely could be moments. Maybe Lastro decides to Transcendence that. Maybe Dante does a 180 and it's like a bait play. Who knows? But that was pretty good in the end. I'd say at least. This next clip is Sam getting a solo EMP onto Merit. And they actually initiate this one. Because most of the time it's Houston initiating, right? And Shock playing a bit more reactively. But they're approaching the end. Boom, EMP on the Merit. And he should die here. However, Creative has the nano boost. So Merit's not going to die with the orb with the nano boost and the healing. Especially because Sam hit the solo EMP here. You don't see Kalush. You don't see Proper doing anything. So this is just a whiff, not even a whiffed EMP. It forces a nano. But, like, that's a good value nano anyway, because Merit's able to, like, well, it's not that good, I guess, but it's free push. And EMP is a higher value ultimate than nano boost. So there's a problem there. And then they're building a support ult, and they don't actually, like, use them, because I guess Violet dies early, and I guess they're calling this a wash, even though they transcended. I'm not sure. I think you probably could attack a bit more aggressively here. Or you could have not EMP'd early at all. That's like a cheeky EMP trying to get an early pick. So I think it was a good... The vision was there, right? But it's not enough. You have to be able to understand, like, you can't guarantee kill Merit, especially if a nano boost is available, and if you don't get the Ana. And they just lose. So on this next one, we see a bit of a weird thing. So both these teams, nothing's happening for a while. They get through B, and now they're defending C, right? But nothing's going on until you get a huge nade from Violet. And it forces Transcendence here and Recall on Merit. Both of them. And you would expect maybe like a dive after the EMP or something, or a dive on this counter dive right here. Because you're not gonna EMP this Transcendence, probably, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And Houston needs to actually get value out of it because they got forced out early, so they need to get value. They recognize this and they go in quick. So right here, you see, well, Sam has the EMP available. He could EMP this dive, probably mitigate it, and have a good chance of winning. But instead, he solo EMPs the backline here. No one can follow up on this. You can look at their health bars. They don't get below half, ever. And the EMP is just wasted. And now it turns into a super scrappy fight because nothing's going on. You get a huge EMP from Pelican here, absolutely massive, where he gets all the supports and everything. And it's just like, that EMP just doesn't get any value. He's the only one that can follow up on it. If he doesn't get that kill, it's over. Because, as you see, Pelican has that EMP available still. Instead, if you EMP that dive that they did, then you can actually get Merit, because there was no nano boost, there was no anything available for him. So you can kill Merit there. Dante, yeah, he's still nanoed. You're not going to kill him, but you can still, do things after. And I don't know, it just would have been way more value than solo EMPing that backline. Because it's not like Proper was there to follow up either. There was no waiting there. And then going on here, as it is a really scrappy fight, so things happen. And you get to overtime. They do clear them out eventually. But here's another critical moment where I feel like they're not utilizing the Sombra's utility of the hack effectively. Because you get the kill on the Merit, but he gets the touch. And now, Dante is going to be going back and forth on this for a long time. And you'll notice Proper gets slept over here. So what do? Their initial reaction is, we have to go help Proper. He's our guy. So Sam, instead of going over here and finding a hack onto Dante, who would instantly get blown up, he doesn't really have support. He kind of has support, but he has to walk out a little bit to actually stay on the point. You get a hack on him. Violet gets a nade on him. Finn is there for a Discord. And then Dante dies here. There's no one else to touch the point. Pelican could, but he's not going to be able to stay there for a sustainable amount of time. But instead, Sam comes over here, tries and helps Proper, but he can't do anything against a Sombra and an Ana. So he's going to end up translocating back. And in this time, Dante is able to live even better. The reinforcements come through. Now Merit's back, and now it's looking good for Houston. If you, instead of going over to Proper there, if you just hack Dante, which is more than possible of hacking Dante, it's not impossible at all, you're there. And even if Kalush has to hold DM on him for half a second or whatever to get the hack off, it's just way more value, and they end up losing this fight here. So I think they need to recognize that you need to hack the Diva more, because Kalush gets hacked way more often than Dante throughout this series. And they kind of lose here. And that's two huge misplays by Sam. Sam didn't really do anything in this entire last minute and a bit. He got a solo EMP on the backline, and then he doesn't really do anything else. Sure, he charged 65%, but Sombra damage isn't actually, the goal here. He's not playing something where your damage is your highest utility. It is the hack still, especially with that 1.75 seconds of silence, right? So just a big misplay there. But now we'll go over to the Shock offense. And this is actually a really good play by Sam. Again, being more reactive. But you see he's positioning on this wooden box here. I keep using my hands instead of my cursor. So you see he's positioned on wood. And what this does is it lets Shock get a lot of free push because they can't actually commit onto Kalush or commit over here or anything like that. Because Sam is there ready for a hack. Merit almost gets hacked, so he has to back up. Dante can't really commit either. What this does do, you get free car push. It lets Proper wrap around the side and get ready for a dive over there. And then Proper sets up, you get the dive going off, and you have a kill on Lastro. So that was a really, really strong positioning again to stop the dive from happening. And it definitely helped Shock get this fight win. Even if Sam wasn't there for the initial dive, it's hard to see he's off screen, right? But even if he wasn't, pretty strong positioning, and they have a really good idea of how to stop the dive. But once they stop it, a lot of the time they don't actually get the follow-up they need. And so in this clip, you're getting... Whoops, I accidentally paused. Okay, so you're going to get a pretty unfortunate time here. So this is, again, showcasing how strong this spot is with Pelican. He's able to scout Proper going up here, and he does reveal his position, but he's Sombra, so not really. And now they know that Proper is going up this way, and they have the ability to hack Kaluj. So as you can see, Sam popped the EMP, and as they do, Kaluj gets hacked. So now Kaluj can't follow up on this. They knew Proper was coming from this angle, so Creative's able to hit a crazy sleep on him, and this EMP gets no value. Yeah, he kills Lastro. I guess there's some value there, but you lost Proper, and you're going to lose the fight on point now that you have Pelican, who is able to hit a bigger EMP second. And so that's not like on Sam. It's not on really the game plan, because that was a pretty good game plan. You know, you get the hack, the proper setup. Kalush should be able to follow up on the dive from where he was. But Pelican had the awareness to hack him at the same time, or at least he got lucky. One of the two. You need to be good to be lucky, and lucky to be good, right? And they get the EMP there, and Outlaws just kind of went out here. The vision was there, and it's unlucky that Proper gets hacked. Proper doesn't get hacked. There's a genuine chance that they end up killing both supports because it's Proper. So there's a chance there, but instead doesn't really pan out. So that was more unlucky, but also Houston did play it quite well. Pelican getting ready for the hack and all that, pretty good. But then we get a pretty weird opportunity here. So we have Houston coming out of the bottom for a recontest, and Houston have 5 ults. Shock just have this EMP. So I understand you're gonna want to go really fast here. The problem is Sam EMPs, but he only catches Dante and Merritt, and it's very hard to actually EMP that backline. Actually, Lastro might have gotten EMP'd, and the new thing overruled it because of how the HUD goes. So maybe Lastro got EMP'd as well, and he got nano boosted. I could see that. But regardless, it's very hard to get the backline there whenever they can play in the cave, and Shock has a very difficult time of capitalizing on that. But because you don't catch Pelican, he's able to EMP the backline, and suddenly you have no supports. And Finn ends up dying pretty much solo. I guess he maybe gets a Discord or something, but I also question if he really should die here. Like, can Violet just not turn around and hit him with a shot and he probably lives? Probably, but that's not a here nor there. But basically, and now they just lose because, you know, that EMP, they have the ults, and that EMP didn't get enough. So just like an awkward EMP there. It's nothing like, no real problem with that one, I think. The odds were not in their favor for that fight regardless, just because of how many ults they were up against. But that one's not really on Sam either, because what can you do? If you wait, then they're going to get the EMP off, and they're going to capitalize even more on it. If you don't, what happens? I don't know. So maybe it's either you either go for that play or you save it, pretty much. And I think that was a fine play. And now we get over to C, where they are attacking C, and this is very awkward for a bit here because you get a really big hack from Sam in a moment. So both teams, like, nothing was really happening for a bit. Both teams doing their thing. Neither team has an EMP. But you'll notice Dante ends up getting antied. He gets really low, and Sam's able to capitalize and get a hack at the end to get him out of mech right here. Hack out of mech. Or, yeah, and he's gone. But from here on out, for the next minute and a bit, it's like Sam doesn't really do anything. Like, he disappears for the rest of that fight, and I'm not sure what the goal really was. I don't know. If you watch this play out, right, they have the man advantage right now. They're up a tank, and they have a 5v4. But where is Sam? Proper gets slept. Creative's been crazy. He gets slept, so sure, that happens. Sam is literally nowhere to be seen. He's taking some damage from somewhere. Maybe he's dueling Merritt or something like that in the backline, but he's not really been anywhere. And we'll see as this continues, right? Good hack on the Pelican, doesn't get out. He still didn't use his EMP despite the trance being out. And they're just cradling this EMP. And Houston get let back into this fight. They need to press their advantage at some point. They were down a diva for that entire time. Whenever you were down the diva, you can just walk forward, EMP them, and you'll wipe them. Like, it doesn't matter that how many ults they have. If you get the good EMP off, you at least force them. Like going back, Kaluge gets demeched as well, which is unfortunate. And because they didn't really get anything going on here, that hack comes out, so they're able to come back here. Boom, that forces the Transcendence as well. I don't know. It's just way too passive. They had to commit. It was a really good hack off rip, but there needed to be something more there. And sorry if that one was a bit rambly, but it's like it goes on for so long. Like it just continues. He still hasn't used EMP that entire fight, and like we get to this overtime here. Oh, this is a really unlucky one though, actually. So this is like a little thing, I guess, because you see Lastro charging up the right click. Now is not the time to EMP this, because the only way you die here is if Lastro hits that right click. As soon as the right click is fired, you have a free EMP, you live, you kill them. He like very good play from Lastro, not taking away from that, but Sam literally just has to wait for that to go. There's not a real rush. You have 15 seconds on the clock. No one's really pressuring you because Dante's out of mech, right? Dante's out of mech by creative. So you just wait for that right click, you hit the EMP, you live, Lastro dies, Proper goes over, maybe can kill creative, who knows, the mech came back, so that's hard to say, but at least you're up one. And that's just like, it just seems like basic. I don't know if they were rushing him or what was going on, but just wait half a second longer, you don't die there 100% of the time. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be it for Dorado, and it was still mostly, Shock just not capitalizing on the... because they end up losing at a scrappy fight here. But it's just that they were playing so passive, playing so reactively, and that's not really how Shock has found their success. It's not as much reaction and setting up Proper for success here. It's just not really going through. But going over to New Queen Street, I'm gonna take a look at why the Ash is here. So Proper's just contesting the card up here, and he's waiting for an opportunity to go in. His opportunity is going to be Kilo hitting a big dynamite on the backline, and this is better than the hack because you get the big damage off. This is light work for Proper to clean up, no matter how ill he is. If he's not feeling it, he's still getting those kills all day, and that's where you get the value out of Kilo, because Kilo does this throughout the entire map, and this wasn't a one-sided map. Neither was Dorado. Dorado was pretty close in the end, right? Sure, Houston complete the map, but they almost did. And same with New Queen Street. It was neck and neck for the longest time, but that's why Kilo gets the value there. And here is one of the areas where Ash isn't as good, is you see how aggressive Kilo has to be here. Wait, is this the right one? Yeah. This is like, they're trying to push this barricade here. And Kilo is way back here. He can't do anything back here. He's not getting any good dynamites. It's way too far away. He's not getting any value out of the shots, even with that window. So he has to come up and play really aggressive. And this is look at how close he is for this dive. He gets hacked and he gets killed right away. He's just gone. Nothing you can do there. But he can't really play far back either, because they won't gain anything from that. They just won't lose anything either. They need to actually push, and they wanted to push and get this checkpoint, especially this early. Whenever you have this advantage like this, that was a perfect opportunity for that. And here's another great opportunity where it's Pelican on the Sombra into Shock. Shock's oftentimes, Proper is the carry of Shock. I don't think that's a bold statement. I don't think that's a hot take. Pelican is here to stop Proper from going on flanks. He does this consistently. When he doesn't have EMP especially, he knows Proper is their win condition. If you can hack Proper on his flank, on his angle to try to get into the backline, he's forced to leave. The recall gets forced out and he backs out. So now you don't have that extra dimension where there's no pressure on your backline and your backline can just sit pretty. And that's another aspect of why the Sombra might be so good into Shock. It's because it limits Proper more than any other DPS has. Because you can think, oh, if that's an Ash, you can still get one-tapped. But the Sombra is such a better percentage play for Houston here, because the Ash is a target that Proper can go onto. You can hit a good stick. Pelican is something Proper can't see unless he's spy checking. But if he's spy checking, then he gets his position revealed, right? So it's not as big a surprise if he's on that flank. So it's just Pelican does such a great job of limiting Proper on what he can do. And that's where there's a lot of value on this map specifically from the Sombra. And so for this next one, we have why the Sombra maybe isn't as good as well. Because on this point, in this part specifically, you see how long these sightlines are for Kilo up on that high ground. So how does Pelican actually get a hack off? He can't just hack right here because Kilo can just shoot him. So he tries and finds an angle where maybe he can't, like right here. He's out of Kilo's LOS, but he's right in front of Kaluj. So this is going to get denied also. The only thing you can do is maybe play on this little flower bed right here, but like not really. That's not really a prime spot for hacking. So this is like why the Ashe is also quite good in this stretch, and I think why this stretch was basically the entire match. No team got to that checkpoint until the very, very end because of how dominant Kilo can be with these long sightlines and how it limits the Sombra into manual hacking. Which is why you see Pelican more stopping proper and only getting huge values off the EMP. It's so hard to dive that backline. There's so much space to close. But yeah. And now this next clip is going to be Shock just kind of not playing well into the EMP. And I understand this one because, they're going to get forced back by this Transcendence. You can't aggress into this. So they get forced back here. But they all kind of like group up, and I wonder if there maybe was some sort of better way to play this. Because you see they're all grouped here. Legit, it's going to be a 4-man EMP. Proper is the only one that's not getting it. And Finn drops from the high ground to contest this, or to heal. But like, this is just a wrap. This is like the juiciest EMP you could ask for. You even catch Kaluj, so he can't even DM this. And it's just a wrap. So, yeah, you were forced out of position by the Transcendence. But even if you had Finn on that high ground, maybe you get out that Immortality field, and Violet lives long enough to get a rally, and it turns around like that. So I think it's just like the awareness of like, we have 4 people stacking on top of each other into EMP. What should we do? They just weren't like prepared for it. Yeah, you get forced out of position, but still, you can't just. They needed some clearance there, because Violet would have rallied if he had it. He was so close. He was at 9. He just got it as he died, right? So it's unfortunate in that regard, but also like. They have EMP. You know what's coming. You don't have any answers. You don't even have an ult you can like pop at the same time. So it's just like think, And over here you get another example of the EMP coming. So this one it really kind of shocks me. EMP is on the way. It's been a bit since his last one, and Pelican's been building it pretty good. Still close match, 3 minutes left, and there's an 8-meter gap, and it's very close. But they have EMP, and you're playing here with Finn and Kilo on the high ground behind, right? They're playing back here on the statue still. So the sightlines aren't great to heal from Finn or for Kilo's sightlines. You're playing in there. They can only see this little entrance. So whenever this EMP comes out and they back up, they're done. Like you catch Proper, Kaluj, and Violet, it's over. Kilo it can't shoot any of these guys. You can't get healed either. The Immortality can't come out. What is going on here? Would it not have been better? Let me go back to the map. Would it not have been better to play around this bus over here? Yeah, you can get flanked a lot easier, but at least you can play in Kilo's sideline if you're going to be forced back, right? Around here or something. Because they push right to here. So the difference is negligible. And yeah, you have more angles, but you can play with Kilo, with Finn. You have the Bob coming up. Bob would be a big game changer after the EMP goes out. Yeah, it can still get hacked. It can still get slept. But at least it'll get some value, because instead, EMP comes out, the whole team dies, Kilo bobs down 3, which is just never going to get value. He stalls the point for a little bit, but it's just not... It's like they weren't prepared for that EMP. It's like they weren't ready for it. And maybe they weren't, and maybe that's why the positioning wasn't as great. But, like, that's not a good enough excuse here. And from here, it's like... It kind of gets worse and worse. So here is like the final stretch of this thing, the final 3 fights, which all kind of roll into one here before I end this video out. You have nothing from Houston except for the support ult, and Proper has just the pulse bomb. But right here, their play is for Proper to flank into the bus area, or whatever this place is called. It's not the buses, but it's like the overpass, and drop down onto supports, maybe find a pulse kill, do whatever. But you have Pelican, again, ready to deny that win condition. And now, they're all really isn't going to get the value. You're denying Proper. You're trading Pelican for Proper, which is like just a valuable trade no matter what, because Pelican can always play with this health back. He'll get more value than Proper, because if you force that recall, he can't go deep anymore. So to combat that, Finn gets this weird window out, pretty weird placement, and they just kind of lose, because you don't have any pressure on the backline, and they use both their ults anyway, I suppose. But it lets them control the tempo entirely, because Proper can't even disrupt it. He's not doing anything. Proper gets no value. And when Proper gets no value, you're just going to lose. So then that's that. And they end up losing the thing and they get to the checkpoint. But from here, you get another critical error. You get this hack off on Pelican onto Kalush, which is huge because it demechs Kalush. Even though Pelican dies, you get the demech, which forces Violet to rally because maybe they lose this fight still, right? You down your tank. You don't have the you're down your tank for a little bit, so you get that extra sustainability on the rally. Maybe he still rallies if he doesn't get the hack. Who knows? But regardless, the rally comes out, and it maybe wouldn't have if he doesn't get that hack and forces the remech. So now Shock do win this fight still, pretty handedly. But you'll notice Kilo in this fight, pretty key moment. From the time this hack comes out, Kilo's at 50. He only builds 20% ult here, and they kind of need something to be able to set tempo to do anything. And the odds are like very much against them because they have nothing. They can't set tempo with anything. They're playing into EMPs and stuff. And like this is just a fight you're going to lose. It doesn't matter unless Proper goes absolutely crazy, which is possible. They just can't set tempo. They can't pressure anything because Kilo doesn't get that bob. So they just play for the EMP. It's up here, you know. Boom. Dante comes through, and it's a wipe. But I'm like, if they got that bob, which is like this is what you're playing instead of the EMPs. You're playing this bob, which doesn't get nearly as much value whenever you have hacks, whenever you have Discord, whenever you have sleep. It's like Bob has the least value it's had this entire season, I would say. And they just kind of lose out here. But yeah, so hopefully that highlighted something. The moral of the story here, you know, Shock plays a bit more passively with the Sombra, a bit more reactionary than Houston does. And even when they do go aggro, a lot of the time the moments aren't great whenever they choose, whether it be a counter dive, which isn't aggro, but like that one EMP on the Merit, for example, where he gets nano boosted, things like that. Sometimes they don't work out. Sometimes instead of just EMPing the dive, you EMP the backline by yourself. So maybe too much hero play. And I think they need to get more value out of the manual hacks as well. And then whenever you play into the Sombra with the Ashe, you just have to have more than maybe a Baptiste or something, because Bap gets hacked and he dies. If you have a Transcendence or something, you can at least leave through it. But EMP is like an automatic win against this team, unless they pull something crazy out. It's just a win on win and win, and Houston only have to really struggle to win every other fight, almost, because Pelican's so good at building it. But yeah, so I guess that's going to be the video. Again, like this video if you like it, subscribe for daily Overwatch League content, and thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. Yeah, deuces.